Hey everybody, I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to episode 98 of VO Buzz Weekly.
Wow, we're getting up there, baby, right?
Yes, and we have a very special episode this week and next because we are at the home of Joe and Ann Cipriano in their clubhouse to talk about their book, Living on Air, and
we're also going to be talking with four of the top promo guys that you hear every single day on ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and many, many other networks, correct?
Absolutely.
It's going to be an awesome show, guys.
Here we go. Hi, you guys.
It's good to see you. Yay!
We got
Chuck
Put
and
it there.
Stacey.
Put it there.
Chuck and Stacey
Yeah,
in the
put it there, Ann.
house.
Yes,
in the house.
yes,
Wow.
Hello.
And I have to say that Ann looks absolutely
Stunning.
fabulous.
Thank
Stunning.
you, Haley.
Holy Toledo.
Lloyd,
Yes,
thank you.
Haley.
Wow,
hey
wow,
now.
woo. Let's go. Let's
Thanks
talk.
for letting us invade your home.
Welcome to the
Anytime.
clubhouse.
Let's talk
Yes.
about this beautiful book that you've written.
Thank
It's
you.
just beautiful. What inspired you to write this book together?
It really was an idea that Joe came up with. He's always looking for something for us to do together, which is great, which is nice. And he'd have one idea, another idea, and I'd say, oh, I don't know, yeah, that sounds all right, but I'm not into it. And then he said, what about if we wrote a book together? And I come from a news writing background, so I thought, yes, I would like to do that. So that's what got us started thinking about it. And
That
then
was the seed.
That was
Yeah,
the
it was,
seed.
yeah.
That was the seed.
And you know, I've been asked so many times about, how do you get into voiceover? How did you get into broadcasting? How did you transition from radio into voiceover? And I thought, I can take all of these stories and we can bring them together.
Right.
And, Ann she's an Emmy award-winning writer, producer, news writer. And so it was, a good combo.
That's a
we had
good co-writer.
Absolutely.
You've got a successful thing. You only go with the best. I would say.
Exactly.
But there's
Exactly.
there are voiceover books out there, how-to books, and they're really good. They're
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
we thought, well, we have to do something a little bit different to differentiate it. So that's why it's written more like a story.
Right.
Joe's story, more like it's a memoir. So
Yeah.
that's why it's a little different in that
Yeah,
way.
Well,
and not
Sweetie-
only that, there are
Okay.
secret ingredients that you talk about in this book that are basically essential for success, and that's what I loved about it. That
Oh,
it
that's
wasn't your
cool.
typical, book about, hey, how do I do voiceovers?
Right.
It's way deeper than that. And I
Oh,
really
cool.
love what you
Oh,
did. You
thank
guys
you.
got to
Deep,
read this
honey,
thing.
deep.
No,
Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
you really, it's very anecdotal, and so when you read these stories, which so many of them made me cry, and I told you, but you get a sense of your heart and your faith and your persistence and your just don't give up no matter what.
Yeah.
And so if you're really reading the stories and that comes out without
Right.
saying step one, do this, do that, you get that through your experience.
Because there are so many, as we said, there's so many how-to books, and this you kind of get from the story itself.
Yeah.
And really, it's all about believing in yourself. There's no shortage of people when you tell somebody what your dream is
Yeah.
that
Right.
people will say, "No, you can't do that."
Yeah.
There's already people doing that.
Absolutely.
You have to believe in yourself, work on your skills, gain that confidence in your skills, and then you've got
And
made.
Joe is just a touch. You know him pretty well. You
know
might
him very
he's,
well.
He's a touch ambitious.
Oh.
He doesn't sit still.
He's a Virgo.
Hey, right on.
Woo!
Hey, Joe, is there a little story from the book that you care to share with all of us really quickly?
Let's hear.
let's
Give us a little-
cozy up now for a little story.
little
Turn on the
preview.
fireplace.
Well, it was really fun to go back and recreate the early days of Top 40 radio when I started, back when I was a kid, hanging around 14 years old, and that was 1969. So Ann and I spent a lot of time, kind of going back into that era and recreating it and bringing the reader into it. We did it. We listened to music from 1969 while we were, writing it. So that was really fun. I think, one of the interesting stories or funny stories from the book is that I was working on the air using the name Tom Collins. And everybody, I have so many different names throughout this book. And I started working at another radio station in Connecticut where the signal crossed over,
Yeah.
so I had to use a different name. I was working at, this one is Tom Collins, so I was working in Hartford as Dave Donovan. There was an opening at the number 7 market in the country, Washington, D.C. I sent in a tape. I sent in my Tom Collins tape. I got a call. He said, Gordon Peele from NBC in Washington, we really like this tape, Tom. Do you have another tape that shows some personality, more personality? I go, yeah, I work at another station. I'll send you that tape. Send him the tape. About 2 weeks later, I get a call. Tom Collins at WWCO. Tom, it's Gordon Peele from NBC. I just want to let you know we really like your tape. We've narrowed it down to 3 people, and you're one of them. Congratulations. I was like, holy cow. And 15, 20 minutes later, I get a call from the station in Hartford saying, Dave, you have a call here from NBC. And I go, wow, maybe they need me, they want me to come down now or something. So I called the number. I said, hey, Gordon, you left a message for me at DRC. Yes, Dave Donovan, DRC. Listen, Dave, we love your tape, and we've narrowed it down to 3 people, and you're one of them.
That is
I just
so
spoke to you.
love
And
it.
funny.
You're Tom and Dave, so
Yeah.
I was 2
Yeah,
of the 3.
2 out of 3. Those
It
are
would have
great
been.
odds.
It would have been
Those are great odds.
spectacular if you were 3 of them.
I know. If
But
only
see,
I could work. See, I wasn't
It's like,
ambitious
I mean,
enough.
you could have a whole reality show based on that.
No, but what a great tip. Change your name.
Change your
so when
name.
you get put on the short list, you're 2 out of the 3
Right,
people
exactly.
or 5 people.
During the time that you guys were spent together writing Living on Air, did you learn anything about each other?
Interesting.
All right, you
Did
go first.
You know what? I think I relearned something because Anne retired from writing and all of that when we had
Yeah.
our kids. But I know that she's a great writer. So what was really wonderful was to see how good she really is. Because the way we worked, I call it data dump, and I would write a chapter and just get it all down, and then I'd work on it and then send it to her. She would work on it and it would come back to me and it'd be like, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
And now it's come time for me to put in more color and work that and then send it back to her. So I think what I learned about her, I already knew, but that she's really an excellent writer, and it was a lot of fun working.
That's fantastic.
Okay, well, that was so nice, and now I can't say what I was going to say.
Yes, you can. You could say.
Why not? It doesn't have
All
to be
right.
nice.
Well, first of all, I did find out what an excellent writer you are as well.
See that? There you go.
But there is something else I learned. I need to work in quiet. I have to, it's all quiet. I have to think. I have to be able to walk around and all that. And Joe works with more noise. And so we could never be in the same room working at the same time.
Right.
But there were a few times towards the end where we were in the same room throwing things back and forth. And I realized he would say something. He'd say something like ask a question. And I'd answer, and then I realized he's not talking to me. He's talking to himself. So I discovered that
He has
that
voices in his
talks
head.
to
That he
I
himself
wonder
talks
why
to
she's
himself.
telling a story like this. I don't understand.
Well,
why
he
she's
is.
talking.
He did have multiple names.
yeah.
early in
God,
his
I do
career.
that.
Then he's the guy with no name. So,
Wow.
he's multiple
I
personalities.
didn't realize. I talked to myself.
Yeah,
Well, we do talk to our dog.
We
as
do,
well,
and
our dog
the dog talks back to
so
us.
Hey,
That's a
I'm all
thing.
about that.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
could be
It's a
part of
problem there.
Who should read this book?
Well,
Well, everyone.
everyone
Everyone, really. There's something for everyone.
The nice thing is, you can relate to it if you worked in radio, if you are in radio, if you do voiceovers. There's so much relatable, but a lot of the things that we talk about and what we were just talking about whatever it is that you're going after, you have to go after it 100%, and you can't listen to the naysayers and believe in yourself and keep working at it. There are kind of tricks to become a success that you can use in any field, in anywhere.
Absolutely, man.
And I do think that the tipping point, you can be, take all the classes and all of that. It's once you get that certain confidence about you.
Yeah.
When you're confident, people feel that when you walk into a room. And I think it's not arrogance. It's just knowing that I can do this. I know I can do this. And when you go in and you audition or you're meeting casting people or producers, boom.
Absolutely.
Self-ease.
Yeah.
I know,
exactly.
Joe said to be positive, but a lot of people think that Joe has just had the career that's just up and up and up and smooth sailing and no problems, no bumps, no nothing. Everything's been great. But like anybody else, he's hit those down times.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, when he hit the down times, he just doesn't give up.
Yeah. That's when
And-
you're
Well, and I
redoubled.
love that
Yeah.
you put those moments in the book when you were unemployed and how you rallied behind him. And
Yeah.
so I think that's really beautiful to show that it, like you said, there are ebbs and flows and that it's not
Exactly.
just all sunny. And you're really, it's
Right.
so brutally honest, and I love it. We love you guys.
Thank
how
you,
can
guys.
people,
Love you guys.
How can people get this book?
Oh, well, you can, if you want it for Kindle or Nook or, for your iPad, you can go to iTunes, Nook, Barnes & Noble. You can buy it at Amazon.com.
Beautiful.
If you want to have, we're still autographing books, and I love doing that.
Yeah.
And if you go to livingonairbook.com, autograph the book, personal
Wow.
note, send it out.
Awesome. And you guys are going to be all over the place doing things. So also go to Twitter, Living on Air Book, and follow them there and see where they're going to be next.
Absolutely. So stop whatever you're doing right now, okay? Go online, pick this thing up right now. You
There
will
are
not
mugs.
be sorry. Do
Wait,
it now.
There's money.
T-shirts.
Do it now.
Do it.
Save yourselves. The time has arrived. You hear these guys' voices every single day on all the top networks and beyond. We are sitting here with Mike McColl, Joe Cipriano, Rino Romano, and Scott Rummell. Let's have some fun with the promo guys.
Look out.
Or
Yeah,
I
baby.
like to call Man Candy Sunday.
Ooh. Okay, for
I'm
the
a lucky
girls,
girl. I'm a lucky girl.
for the women out there, this is Man Candy Sunday. I'm gonna include myself in that too.
Yeah.
So first of all, guys, welcome to VO Buzz Weekly. So glad that
Thank
you
you for
can
being
make
here.
it. I know you guys are super, super busy. You don't even know what we had to do to get them all here at one shot. This is crazy. ISDN machines are running in the back. They're hot, just in case something comes up, right? But we want to know, can you please just each one of you go through some of your top shows that you're working on right now so everybody can know a little bit about it?
Yeah. Scott?
Yeah.
Good. Good toss.
We don't have to go in order.
Nice
This is not
toss.
preschool.
Let's see. I'm doing a new show called Sleepy Hollow
Sleepy
and
Hollow.
Almost Human. And then I'm on Castle and Shark Tank, The Mentalist, Homeland.
Oh, no.
That's a goodie.
And and a number of others, yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Reno?
I'm on a show called The Voice on America's Got Talent, Parks and Recreation, CBS comedies, Michael J. Fox, Sean
cool.
Saves the World.
Nice.
Right on.
Wow.
Sweet.
Joe, when you're not doing the book tour, what are you doing?
I am on, let's see, 2.5 Men, Mike and Molly, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'm the in show for America's Got Talent. We share that.
Wow,
We used to
yeah, that's
share
right.
Extreme Makeover. Joe and I
home
did,
edition,
yeah.
And Queen Latifah, and a few others.
And a few others.
I
Eminem.
am Eminem on Dancing with the Stars and new comedies, The Goldbergs and Super Fun Night for ABC. And I do football for Fox. I've done that for a long time now. So you hear me on Sundays and throughout the week promoting
Yeah, yeah.
football. And other shows for CBS and, I don't know, FX.
That's cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, these guys are all being very, very modest
Yes.
because we did some research on them, and they're actually on like a ton of shows. If they said all the names of the shows they're on, the show would never end. So, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with some questions, Miss Stacey.
So do you guys have a standout moment in your career that really just kind of stays with you, whether it was actually in a session or an appearance? I mean, what kind of bumps out at you as this is a moment I need to remember?
For me, it was my first time I was on VO Buzz Weekly. Yeah, that was my...
Scott,
good.
you're a sweetheart. Thank you very much. I'll give you
I
$20
watched that.
later.
Yeah, I watched that over and over
You
again.
were episodes 3 and 4, Scott.
Oh.
And at the time, we still joke about it. I always call it the set looked like a yard sale. And just to say, these episodes with you guys are episodes 98 and 99. So almost 100 episodes
Yeah.
later, you
Wow.
know, the
Big
chair
episode
is
coming
on the
up.
same level. It was like, yeah, what happened next, Scotty? And you're like all the way up here.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to welcome you back.
Thank you.
Nice.
2 years later.
Go ahead.
Oh, so many standout moments and fun moments with everybody. I don't think anybody forgets their first time they walk into the network. And my first network that I ever walked into was CBS. And walking in through the artist entrance, my heart was pounding. Walking down the long hallway, going in, meeting people I've never met before, and sitting in there, and then you hear those 3 beeps, and it's time to go.
Yeah.
And it either works or it doesn't work. And I remember that. It was with Amy at CBS, which I'm sure everybody here has worked with. And
Amy.
Lovely.
she was very sweet. She was my first room producer, and that was a moment that stood out because it was a moment that that was really the beginning for me. That was
Yeah.
like, wow, that was the first time,
Yeah.
and that was so many years ago, and now it's been thousands and thousands of beeps later,
Yeah.
and
What a road marker.
but many fun moments. But I always remember that first time,
Yeah, that's cool, Scott.
pretty magical.
What about you, Rita?
Well, you know what? Scott put it very well when he said there's so many. I can't even call one out other than I just remember I was the voice of the WB for
Yeah.
many
Yeah,
years. I'm still
yeah.
there, thank God, at the CW. But I just remember in the early days, just having gotten the job, walking to my car in the parking lot thinking, I'm going to get found out.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're letting me do this. And it was
Yeah.
just, I was so elated. I just remember being elated, like, I can't believe I actually get to do this. It's silly. I just remember that feeling of looking up at the sky thinking, like, no way, man.
Is this real?
If this could just keep up for a little while longer.
Yeah.
Because it was so much fun. That, and then I personally recall, again, there's so many interesting moments, but just people like, we were just talking about Casey Kasem. When I met Casey Kasem, he said, "Hi, I'm Casey Kasem." I said, "I know who you are, Mr. Kasem." I said, "So nice to meet you." I was like, "Holy smokes, it's Casey Kasem." You know, just things. Adam West, just meeting people, and just I don't know. There's so many moments.
I think that I think all of us share that feeling that we're going to be found out at any moment. And it's so cool that we've been doing this for so long. I mean, I started at Fox in '88. And I still have that same joy about it and wonder and excitement. And, you know, it's incredible. My first moment, I think that I remember, the first movie trailer I ever did in 1982 was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And that was like a big deal. I was amazed at how much went into doing a movie trailer. You're kidding me. And then the other thing was when I was hired at Fox, I was a disc jockey at Kiss FM. And it just happened to be that the new head of marketing for Fox was driving home, stuck in traffic, heard me on the radio. I was the only companion in the car at the time, and said, "That's a voice. I bet that could work." And, you know,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot of the moments for me like that have been when I'm with the group, or you know, at Joe's house for a holiday party, or at a union meeting, and you know, when I crossed over from sort of trying to break in to people knowing who I was in that room, and that meant a whole lot to me. And these guys were all there before me, so I mean, I've learned from them. In fact, my first job was on Charmed and Angel for what was then the WB, and I met Rino there, and you know, that was, I remember leaving that day and thinking, like he was saying, you know, just what a lucky guy I am. And then there was a really funny moment. I was so broke at the time that I started doing those shows. I remember you'd walk out with your copy of the contract. And I would call my agent or manager or both, you know, and tell them like what I'd just done, and I was trying to do the math in my card. It's like, wow, really? And I remember going to the bank. I had used the same branch of Washington Mutual over in like North Hollywood area, and I started, you know, the same girl that had seen me deposit these checks of no money at all from these other jobs. I started coming in with like bigger and bigger checks, and finally one day she looks at me and she's like, "What do you do?" She thought I was like Walter White.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's just the way, it was a huge turnaround for me.
That's great.
Yeah, but I also feel like it's just something that I can always get better at, and I always feel so, I feel fortunate, but always sort of on my toes and, you know, wondering how long it will be around, but it's sure is fun.
There is this, you know, conception out there or perception out there that you make a lot of money in promos. So we're just going to put you guys on the spot right now. I mean, let's
How
see,
much money you got in your
money's in your
pockets?
wallet
Okay,
right
first
now?
of all,
What?
to actually answer that question honestly, everyone, the myth of like, oh, you guys make all kinds of money. If this were 1970, I think I'd own like a couple of buildings by now. Like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. We get paid great. We get paid to talk. That's what I always say. We literally get paid to talk. Short of doing one or two other things, getting paid to sleep would be pretty good. I mean, like, it's pretty phenomenal. I feel really lucky.
But you make money while you sleep.
Well, you can with
In
residuals. But nowadays, you don't make that much. Well,
No,
whatever.
yeah,
Point is, we're very lucky. But I was just joking in the break.
So how much?
That at the end of the day, no matter how, you know, you're well-to-do, you do all right, you do really well, you know, whatever you do. Joe has his book here, his beautiful book that I've been dying to read. I want to buy it. And I'm like, Joe, when I leave, you know, can I... Oh, wait, I can't buy his book. I got $7 on me.
I got $14. I got $14 on me.
I'm like a child.
That's what I just gave you because I
What do you got?
bought
Oh, 8. I got 8.
right?
Oh, you got 8. You can get the first half of the book and then send him.
Yeah, exactly.
Layaway.
Okay, this is the absolute truth.
I'm gonna put his book-
I have had no cash for like a month, and I'm at home in the studio, so I depend on my wife. So she goes, "Hey, did you see what I left you in the closet?" I was like, "What?" And I went in there, and she left me like some
Sugar
cash. She
mama.
left me.
Oh, no, you got 50s. Don't show us your 50s.
Now that's a good
Dude,
wife, though.
I haven't had money for a month. I'm telling you, this is it. I get that this is my allowance, really. It'll be 2 months.
Don't spend
I gotta
it all.
spend-
You guys
Mike
are
doesn't
fucking
even have any
hysterical.
money.
Yeah, well, no, Mike's
I
got
have
2
no money.
Sherpas outside holding 2 briefcases for $16,000 in case.
I hid my money in the car.
Mike drove up in a money truck, actually.
That's so
Hey,
funny,
Joe.
man.
That is funny.
I remember Rita Venari telling me a story about Ernie Anderson, who was really
This is our
he
agent.
was the first $1 million promo guy, really,
Yeah.
wasn't he? At
Oh,
ABC,
yeah, yeah.
he was the Love Boat.
The
He was
Love
the-
Boat.
all that stuff. And I remember Rita telling me that Ernie used to go to her like once a week and ask her for petty cash.
Oh, my gosh.
Because his wife gave him a certain allowance. And he
he
would
would run
go
out.
through it, and he would, need some cash, so she would give him petty cash. But I don't
amazing.
know, isn't it funny?
What's funny about that is of all the guys in the world to be like that. Ernie Anderson.
Yeah,
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 really.
right.
Yeah, right. The,
Yeah.
Next.
Danny
Hello,
Dark, who was the
Bo.
voice of NBC forever, I was talking to him once, and he was telling me about another voiceover guy who had made an investment
Yeah.
and lost $1 million. And he said to me, and Josie, it takes a while to save up $1 million. I was like, yeah.
Really?
When?
Thanks.
When
Yeah,
was that?
$100,000 at a time.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know what? This is a good thing. We all just came from normal American households,
Oh,
right?
sure,
yeah.
And
Right.
it's interesting because you mentioned people think we make a lot of money, and we are blessed to make great money in this business, but. The other truth about it is we all worked hard and we all took a lot of chances.
Yeah.
And we took risks that were hard to take.
Yeah.
People coming from different countries and big chances. So
This is true.
there's a lot of work that goes into that and a lot of luck.
Lot
at the
of
same-
luck.
at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't take it lightly, and we're not flashing our cash to
Yeah.
be in.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Right.
speaking of that,
Flashing
real
our
quick,
You all
14
are
bucks.
very.
Exactly.
speaking of how hard you work, Scott, how long did you try to get into promos before you actually booked a promo?
I often quote this book, Outliers,
Yeah.
which I think Malcolm Gladwell studies success. He studies odds and all this thing, and I know he's come out with something new, which I didn't read, but he
I
talked
think
about.
it's called Lying Out Loud.
He talked about 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
He talked about 10,000 hours, which breaks down to about 1,000 hours a year.
Yeah.
So it's about 10 years. And you know how
10
people
years
always
is
say,
a
oh,
number.
you're an overnight success.
Yeah.
But if you study most of us in this business, in other businesses, sports, whatever, it takes about 10 years of hard focus and effort, consistent. Because if you lose momentum, you're done. You have to keep going, even when
Yes,
it's tough,
relentless.
tough.
10 years is a number. That's a good number.
But it is
Yeah.
about the right number. And I will tell you that I came to Hollywood in 1986. And in 1996 is when I got my first trailer.
Yeah.
And so even though I had been doing commercials and other work in voiceover, it was a solid 10 years before I had that real big break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Reno?
I don't know how to answer it in terms of time. I just know that, everyone always wants to talk about money. It used to be when I started in 1991, and then I was a kid, and I just remember you'd say to me, what do you do? Well, I'm an actor, and well, what do you do? Well, I do voiceovers. What's that? Well, I'm an announcer. It was a dirty word at the time. Like, what's that? Well, I do cartoons. You draw cartoons. No one knew what the hell you were talking about.
Right.
Literally, no
Yeah,
one
yeah,
knew what you were
yeah,
talking.
yeah.
No one. Whoever you told was like, "What's that?" Now it seems you say, "What do you do?" You don't get the words out. They make a lot of money.
Yeah, right.
And the thing of it is, what I think the fallacy is that people think that you just get up, you say 3 words, and then you go play golf all day. And the truth is, as much as we're super lucky to have the job, and again, tomorrow you're done. That's the fear. It's always like, well, thanks for coming, you're done. But we work hard. I mean, every day, it's all 90% of the time you're trying to get work, and the rest of the time you're trying to service your clients. And the point being that it takes up a lot of your life and a lot of your time. And again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I feel so fortunate. But getting back to the original question about how long it takes, I don't know, man, but it ain't easy. It's like anything else. It's just, it looks easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But like being an actor, they're supposed to tell you no. So to speaking to those people who want to do it, either acting or voiceover or whatever, that's what they tell you no. And your job is to just keep plugging
Yeah, you
away,
can't
and then
listen to
you'll,
that.
and then you'll, if you're going to succeed, you're going to succeed, and it's up to you, no one else.
I met Joe in 1986, 87. And we were sitting at this little studio at the end of the John Wayne Orange County Airport runway. And
What a weird place to put a studio.
weird place.
I'm telling you right
Freaking
now.
airport.
That's some soundproofing.
Yeah.
And this is the truth. Joe and I were there working for a local advertising agency. Joe had his car dealerships that he was going in to do. I had mine that I was going in to do. We were schlubbing for whatever dough. We were doing these, come down to Orange County Cadillac or whatever
Right,
it was,
whatever it
right?
was, yeah.
And so we started out like everybody else, just doing local commercials,
And happy to do it.
and happy,
yeah.
thrilled to do it. I couldn't believe I was getting to do
I had to drive an
commercials.
hour and a half to get down there, for God's sakes.
Were
but,
there
yeah.
any jobs that stick out to you that helped you pay the way until your voiceover career took off? What's
I was
Earlier
going to say
jobs,
that
yeah.
reminded me when I got out of acting school. There was a girl that I graduated with had a friend who had a studio, and he was just doing non-union production work for. I think one of his clients at the time was House of Blues, and it was. She liked my voice, and she asked if I would consider going down and reading some stuff. And that job, driving downtown and working in this little crappy studio for, 30 minutes to an hour, say I'd get maybe, if I could get a gig a month, it basically paid my bills. I couldn't believe it, but that one really kept me afloat, right? Getting out of acting school and then just kind of starting to try to get an agent and get the ball rolling. That was one that definitely I will always remember fondly, and I remember feeling so lucky that getting, one session and 2 sessions was party time, but one session would actually pay my rent and buy
Right.
me some groceries. And I thought, wow, how lucky am I? Because I've had many other jobs growing up, and I had a funny job after.
What's your worst Joe job?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Worst what?
Your worst Joe job, like your regular job, like
Joe job. Hey.
It's a Joe job.
Hey.
Sorry, Joe.
Many. I was just telling my kids
That's
last
what
night
they
that
call it in Canada, Joe Jobs.
Gotcha.
I grew up in the South and I pulled tobacco. That was the worst Joe
really?
job.
Pulled
I had.
tobacco?
My dad
That's a
did
tough
that.
job.
He was,
Pull me.
he was a tobacco
Like
leaves?
picket.
He
Yeah.
was a picker too.
It's a
as
tough
kid.
gig.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was telling my kids last night, actually, I have a nephew in town, and I was explaining to him, he said he worked on a farm over the summer, and I was just saying how those jobs were instilled character, and it also just, it scared you to death. He said, I don't want to respect the people, respectfully, I don't want to do that
Right,
with my
right.
life. But anyway, there's a quick story I wanted to tell you about a guy that I took fencing with. My fencing instructor in acting school owns a studio in Burbank, and he teaches fencing, and he does birthday parties where he goes in and you dress up as a pirate, you go in and you teach, you do this little skit, and then you teach the kids fencing.
Sword fighting at
And-
a kid's birthday party. Awesome.
Yeah, that
Here
was
you go, kids.
Here, don't hurt each other.
that was my job, aside from that little non-union gig that I had.
gosh, that's
And it was through that studio and a contact there that I got to go read for this movie called Love and Basketball, and that was the first trailer that I ever got, and then that everything kind of went from there.
Yeah.
But that was a crazy job.
So jobs other than voiceover, disc jockey. So
Right,
that's how
right.
I used radio to support myself, so I can go after voiceover. But I also, when I was 17, I was a cameraman for local Channel 20 in Waterbury, Connecticut for Romper Room.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's crazy.
That's a good
Joe.
job. That's cool.
And I didn't. There was a 2-camera thing. The good camera, the guy who had been there before me, he had a zoom. I had a camera that you'd have to pull and change the lens. It was on a tripod type thing,
crap.
and change the lens. Yeah.
Wow.
Reno, do you have a job?
Oh,
that's
well,
your
yeah, we're
first-
talking about regular jobs. Well,
a Joe job, as you
A
call
Joe
it.
job.
I call it, okay, I'm going to get called out for calling it a Joe job.
that threw me.
Well, yeah, you'd get called out on that. Yeah.
Regular jobs, thankfully, it's been a while, but when I was young, I had a job. My mom worked in a factory, and it was a ski hat making factory, Murray Merkley Sportswear.
Wow.
And I worked there hauling. I know at the time I knew like, I think it was 17 different versions of blue. I knew,
Oh, wow.
cobalt shale, navy, light, all the different, and I'd pull and bring it to all the Asian ladies who didn't speak any English in Canada. We were like best friends, but like we just would sign language each other. And there was a Colombian guy in the back, and he was like a gorilla, and he didn't speak a word of English, and he was like, "Too many the matter." He was like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, but I would it's a true story. But I would take the hats home, and I would fluff Angora hats, piecework, at 25 cents a hat or 15 cents
Fluff
a hat.
Angora
and
hats.
so I'd be sitting in my garage covered in like a cloud of Angora watching the Flintstones. You know, like because I love the Flintstones. And I was in my 20s, and you know. And it was actually a good job. I didn't mind it, but you know, my friends would call me like, "Yeah, what's up? Like, what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up?
What are you doing?
Wow,
Fluffing
that is an
Angora?
unusual job.
Yeah.
It's a job I had
That's
for a while.
nutty.
You were a fluffer.
Fluffer. He was a fluffer.
Wow.
Leave it to
So
Joey.
inhaling all the Angora, that's what really created your sound.
That's
it.
the sound, man. There you go.
Yes.
What about you, Scott?
Can you
butter.
Odd
top
jobs.
fluffing Angora hats?
Probably the worst Joe job. I was 14 and I actually got hired by a janitorial company. I was cleaning 2 real estate buildings and a bank building in my town at night. I did that. But the one that people are usually either excited about or, you know, was one of those fun jobs was I sold peanuts at Angel Stadium.
You did?
I did for 2 seasons. Yeah.
Wow.
You were. Could you toss it?
Yeah,
and do that whole thing?
I was good.
He was
Yeah,
a
because
good
if you
tosser.
tossed them great, you got better tips.
Yes.
And I would do behind the back
Behind
and
the
do the
back.
whole thing. And then I would do. I did the top section, the view section, because there was more people up there who spent less money on their tickets, so they were more anxious to, you know, maybe buy peanuts and stuff. But yeah.
Too bad you didn't work on commission.
So
We did work
cool.
on commission.
You did?
And that was the interesting thing.
Wow.
When we came to the stadium, we would actually have to buy the peanuts. So we had to bring our
make
own
your
bank, our
money
own
back.
change, and then we would sell them for 14% more than we would buy them for.
Wow.
So the more we hustled, the more we make.
Wow.
And back then, it was 1976 and 77. I would average about $60 a game, which was a lot
That's
of
pretty
money.
good, yeah.
That
Good
was
job.
pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty good money back then. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm still a huge Angels fan to this day.
Do you find that when you've had a job like that, when you see a peanut guy, you'll buy peanuts?
Absolutely.
And you'll tip them
Yeah.
heavy, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, man, that's the way it goes. I
Yeah.
was a shoe shine boy when I was a little kid in my dad's barbershop. And I just remember when somebody gives you a tip, it stays with you. So it just,
Yeah.
as you get older, it's just a funny thing. It
That's
stays
great.
with you.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I want to. We have some viewers that sent in questions for you guys.
That's right.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
This
it.
comes from Mike Villani.
Mike Villani.
I know. Mike
Thanks,
Villani
Mike.
helped me get into voiceover.
You're kidding.
That is so interesting.
Wow.
Mike Villani.
Well, he's watching right now, so you
encouraged
say hi
me
to
when I
Mike.
was a young guy. He was at KNOB Radio.
Yeah.
And I brought him my very first demo tape. He was working, doing something overnight. He said, "Come down to the station." And I played him my tape, and he was so encouraging to me. That is so funny. It comes from Mike.
Yeah.
Mike is a wonderful guy who's had
Wonderful
an
guy.
amazing career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's asking, for those just starting out in the voiceover business and wanting to focus on promo or trailer work, or for those seasoned pros wanting to move their work into the promo arena, who are the best teachers or classes?
Wow, that was a great episode of VO Buzz
Amazing.
Weekly. If I have to say so myself, I know you guys got a lot of good stuff out of it, right?
Definitely.
Listen, we'll be back next week with part 2, but in the meantime, go online, order Joe and Ann's book, Living on Air. It's absolutely awesome. You got to do it.
Get the mug too, get a shirt, and also keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly, you guys. We'll see you next week, and just remember, you always have time for a little buzz.